All right, welcome to Read the Lines Celebrity Guest segment. For the Hero World Challenge, I am joined by Mark Fulcher, Fooch, PGA Tour caddy for Justin Rose, Francisco Molinari, and right now for Billy Horschel. Mark has looped the Hero World Challenge how many times?
I'd say 7 or 8, maybe.
7 or 8 times. All right, well, Fooch, welcome to the show. Let's get right into it. But before I get started, quick congratulations. You and Billy had something significant happen in September. BMW Championship. Do you have a quick cool story from that tournament?
Well, the tournament for me it's called the European Tour Caddies Fifth Major, and for very good reason, because it's the one that, as a caddy you always want to win. And ironically, I'd tried for many years and been very lucky with the caddy for Justin on multiple occasions there, and the best we could manage together was second. So for Billy to pop up and me be part of that was, I can't tell you how important it was. A massive week, great fun. And Wentworth is a place that everybody should visit. That particular tournament is wonderful.
Well, it looked like a great week. And, you said it's important. Well, it's important to my readers to have you with us this week, because we're going to talk a little bit about the Albany golf course and what's going on out there at the Hero World Challenge. Now, you mentioned you've been there a couple of times. What was your first impression of that golf course?
My first impression was it's obvious. It's grass, green grass with just rocky and sand on both sides. Very limited bunkers. Ernie Els designed it. I have to say, 50% of it's very average, and there's some really good holes on it too. So it doesn't really favour any players, because length's not a huge advantage. It's always an advantage, but there not so much. Accuracy is good. The greens are narrow and tough enough to make it a good iron player, and the reality is, best putter wins.
Well, okay. So then from your perspective, when you're preparing for somebody like Justin, was there anything special you had to do at Albany? Anything that kind of, stuck out in your mind that you said, we got to be careful of this, or this is a key situation here we need to try to take advantage of?
Well, obviously I was very fortunate with Rosie because he lived there for many years. And I spent a lot of time there away from the tournament, on site with him practicing. So as far as my perspective, I'd sort of learnt the course over the years being there non-tournament. But I think what the lads will be doing in the tournament is looking, obviously their normal stuff, tee to green, but they'll be looking at pin positions from the past few years and certainly wind direction. And that will tell them the game plan they need to do. So it's almost one of those courses where you walk it, it's in front of you, but the past few years' information as far as pin locations, wind direction is crucial. And all the guys in that field are top class caddies, and they'll know that.
Well, the weather looks perfect for this week. It's going to be 80, slightly breezy, maybe 10 miles an hour. So I think the guys, the weather's not going to be the real challenge like it was a couple months ago in Bermuda. But right. You talked earlier about it doesn't really suit one type of player. And I think that the champions have kind of told that same story. I mean, you have Henrik that won a couple years ago, definitely a ball striker, but you've had guys like Patrick Reed that have had a ton of success there who are great short game players. We got to pick somebody at some point. What kind of skills, if you were building a golfer, would you really want this week going into the golf course?
Well, obviously for me, this golf course, the par threes are critical. There's a set of 4 par threes there that are very, very good. So immediately points to me with, iron control. Par fives are obviously key. They are every week. So there's one man that stands out for me. It's the obvious one, but I can't see beyond him if I have to pick a favorite.
So who's that?
Well, you tell me.
You're probably talking about Rory.
No, absolutely not. I'm talking about the guy that beat him in Dubai this year.
Oh,
obviously Rory is, probably on his day, well, without question, in my opinion, on his day, the most talented golfer on the planet. But Colin and the way he's played, obviously this year speaks for itself. But I think this course is set up for him to. I think he'll win this week.
Sure thing. I mean, with 5 par threes and all of those scoring shots with irons, I think, Morikawa is obviously in good form. So he's definitely at the top of the list, but he's also one of the favorites. Is there somebody, of the rest of the 20 that kind of piques your interest? Maybe your former boss or somebody like that, maybe in the second half of the favorites pool from a betting perspective, maybe with local knowledge, maybe something about their golf game.
Well, you'd always fancy Justin round there. It seems to me that he's coming into a bit of form. I know how hard he's been working at his game. I know how close he is, and obviously he's the course record holder there. I think he finished maybe second or third a couple of times. So of course you can't leave him out. I wouldn't leave him out. He's an amazing player. But the guy I'm really interested in is Harris English. Now he's not played the course before, and yes, he did miss the recent cut. But I think that guy off tee to green is exceptional. And I think, I'm guessing he's probably one of the outsiders. I haven't specifically looked at the odds, but I have a sneaky inkling that Harris could perhaps go in at a nice price.
Well, you know what? He is near the top half of the odds list for sure for the 20 guys. But you know where he's at the bottom of the list is that, where he's near number 1 or 2 is that par 3 from 175 yards to 200 yards. He is very, very good iron player, and they've got 5 of those to play there. So I think that's a great pick. There's no doubt about that. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
My only concern with Harris is that can he make enough birdies to compete when we know the winning score is going to be somewhere between like 19 and 21 under?
Well, where was his 2 wins this year? Kapalua, I believe, and he was deep there. And the other place was Travelers. Now, if you don't shoot low at Travelers, not only you're not winning the tournament, you're not making the cut. So I think Harris is more than capable of making a show. And given that it's his first appearance, but I know his caddy very well, Elar. He's an experienced man. He'll get the job done as far as preparation. I got a sneaky feeling for him. I love Justin. I'd back him every week if I could. But Colin will win.
All right, let's go back to just Justin for a minute. Do you have a quick Albany story with Justin that would kind of be? Whoop.
I didn't expect that. That's Reno and Millie.
Oh well, welcome to Read the Line.
Anyway, sorry about that.
Hey, I love dogs.
Justin, I'm sorry. What were you saying about Justin?
I'm just saying, in your experience with Justin there, whether it was during the Hero World Challenge or otherwise, is there a fantastic story of Justin's play there on the golf course?
Well, there was one year, I think he shot the course record, maybe 61 or 62, and it wasn't quite good enough to win the tournament, but I think he finished runner-up. But the thing about Rosie is when he gets on the run, on a nice run, and one of his established ideas of his when we were together was he just waited for his run because he knew there would be a period of time. So he never got impatient as far as if he was level par after 5 and somebody's already 3 under, it never fazed him because he knew he would have his run. And that particular year, I really can't remember what, but he played incredibly well. So from that perspective, not only can he win, but I would love to see him win. It would be it would mean so much to me personally to see him back in the winners' enclosure. I'd love that so much.
Well, I know you were leaning towards Harris English, but I with Rosie living there, I love him as a pick for this week. I actually do. He's been in fine form the last couple fall events that he's played in, and he played well at Sea Island. I think he's a really solid choice this week. My readers love to do a little bit of live betting as the tournament goes on. Now, you've watched a lot of live golf inside the ropes. Is there something specific that you look for when you see a player, whether they're warming up or they're playing the first couple of holes where you know that their game is on, that maybe you could share, with my listeners?
To be honest, no, because warming up, I've seen Justin, for example, and even Billy to some extent, and Francesco warm up terribly, and they've gone out and played fantastically, and they've also warmed up brilliantly, and the reverse is true. But I just think if I was betting this tournament, I'd certainly look at past form, but I'd also look at people who play well in the wind. It's not going to be that windy, and that's kind of an iron player. And I think you've hit the nail on the head with Justin. You've gone for home form. I think Colin is a winner. But if I was to, as I said with Harris, it's interesting how you brought up those stats about the par 3s. That's even made me even more confident. The guy can hit his irons, and I'm feeling good about Harris. I can't think of anybody else. if I really had to go for another obvious one, Justin Thomas would be there, of course. And you have to realize this tournament, even though the money is not significantly high for these guys, the world ranking points are. So these are equally important to some of these guys. The world ranking points as far as moving them towards number one, moving them to the top 10, maybe into the top 15, it's important. So nobody gives up this week, even though the prize money is relatively even down the bottom. They're not only playing for prize money. So never give up on your player this week, because the world ranking points are vital.
Well, with no cut, they've got 4 rounds to prove themselves. One last guy I want to ask you about. All right. Webb Simpson. Statistically, there's a couple things that are going on there. I mentioned it earlier already. The 5 par 3s are around the same distance. Webb is good at those. Webb is good at scoring on par 5s in that 550 to 600 yard range, which is roughly what all of the 5 par 5s are there. But uniquely enough, there's those 2 short par 4s on the golf course. And Webb's good at those. Handicap Webb Simpson for the week, maybe. You've seen him perform at his highest level. I'm just curious if he has what it takes to go 20 under at Albany.
Yes, of course he does. The one thing I'd say about Webb, he's got probably, one of the top 5, maybe top 3 caddies on the PGA Tour. Paul Tezoy is fantastic. Not only is he a good caddy, he's a great player, and Webb has huge confidence in him. And I've no doubt he's prepared as he would do, in any tournament. I see Webb at a little bit of hit and miss at the moment. He seems to have good weeks. He seems to have bad weeks. How he adjusts to Albany and how he adjusts to the Bermuda fairways. I mean, obviously at Wyndham, I'm presuming was at Bermuda. He's done very well there. But I think Webb is either way. I wouldn't put you off, but then I wouldn't put my money on him this particular week. Frozen, I think. Did you get that?
Well, you know what? Webb has a great caddy, but we've been joined by a great caddy as well. You've been on the bag for a gold medal. You've been on it for a women's U.S. Open, a men's U.S. Open. Not a lot of people can say that. Mark Fulcher, Fooch, it's been a pleasure having you here on Read the Line. Can't thank you enough.
My pleasure. I'd love to come back another time. It's been a great pleasure of mine.